in this battle, I'll use a fairly balanced army against an Ardiaei infantry spam. And the reason why I wanted to show this battle is because it is very, I think it's very telling in how one-dimensional armies can fare against, or I call the RDA a 1.5-dimensional army because they have a lot of good infantry, but they also have a skirmishing capability in their Thurio spears, their Illyrian Thurio spears, so they kind of 1.5 faction because they have the cheap Thurio spears that can also throw javelins. Now, my build consists of 6 Eastern Slingers, 5 Scaled Thorax Hoplites, Baktria Noble Horse, Baktria Royal Cavalry General. I also have 3 more Baktria Noble Horse over here for a total of 4, and I also have 4 mercenary Scythian Horse Archers, which I'll use to troll on the flanks. I'm moving down here because, seeing as how my opponent has a decisive infantry advantage, I don't really want him to hill camp on this here hill, so I want to be able to use my missiles to force him to go on the offensive. And I'll just fast forward here because this is a long battle. And here I'm pulling my, moving in, shooting, pulling back before his Thurio spears can react and throw missiles, and I'll just keep doing this for a while just to troll and kill. And he's going to move into square, and that's going to be good for me because it makes these guys easier to hit. And while square is a good defensive position, and the square enables these guys to throw their javelins in 360, it's going to enable them to throw less javelins to the very front of the unit, and it's going to make them take more casualties from missiles, because look at this. My horse archers are over here. The only guys that are getting effect of their shields will be these guys here. Now, these guys, all of these guys, are going to get hit in their backs with no protection from their shields. So you should see them start dropping fairly quickly. They'll be able to throw some javelins, but not to great effect since they are throwing them in 360. And they lost 9 men there, and they're going to continue to lose men quite a lot. So I'm going to use heavy shot and just sneak my try to sneak my guys a bit closer. And you can see the casualties are starting to become a bit problematic. Now, these Illyrian Thurio spears are not really, they aren't expensive units. They cost 340, I believe, or 360, but they can be very annoying. And against my fairly balanced cavalry heavy army, these guys are more worrying to me than the hoplites are, because these guys are going to be able to chase after me and throw their javelins and cause a lot of casualties to the cavalry. So I want these guys off the field. One of the good things about the square formation is that it's going to enable them to hold for longer, since they have an increase of morale of 10. So I'm throwing the javelins, but I'm able to pull my Scythian horse archers out, and I'm alternating between using heavy shot and normal arrows. Using normal arrows when I want to get a few shots off as they're running away into their backs, and using heavy shot when I want to cause maximal casualties and there are no ranged units to oppose me. So just staying here in the forest for a while, I'm going to push up my slingers, and in order to annoy my opponent a bit, I'm going to start shooting at his general, because my opponent is in a very strong defensive position here. I'm not going to be able to take this army head on, that's fairly obvious. And he has his skirmishers defended quite well, so I'm not going to be able to break through up the hill against his peltasts, so I'm not going to try that either. But I am going to start shooting at his general. It won't be very effective shooting to the front of Illyrian Noble Hoplites with their great armor and their shields, but I do have a lot of slinger units, and the nice thing about slingers is that they have so much ammunition that you can kind of use ammunition in this way that wouldn't really be effective with archers. So as they're running away, they're going to take some shots to the back, still going to take a lot of time killing these guys. And my horse archers are just continuing to troll and get kills on the Illyrian Thurio spears. This one unit is almost dead, so I'm going to forget about that for a minute and start firing at these guys and just continue to move my horse archers around. And I didn't know that my opponent had all infantry at this point. He might have had something hidden. I didn't count his units. If I had counted them and counted 20, then I probably would have been moved these guys away. But now he's coming in with his mercenary peltas, and this is what I want. So I'm going to charge in with my Bactrian noble horse and get into his peltas, but peltas are pretty sturdy skirmishing units. They will take some losses here, but nothing huge. I'm going to lose a few back to Noble Horse, but taking a few guys off his Peltasts. And over here I'm moving a bit too close to these Thurio Spears, so I'm just going to move away, change to normal shot, and keep running them into the forest, move them around. Killed off some of the Thurio Spears, quite happy about that. Now I'm going to put them over here. His general is taking quite a few casualties here, and this is really going to hurt them when they get into melee, because a lot of these guys will have reduced hit points, and as they turn their backs they're going to take more casualties. So he's moving up with his Peltasts. I'm moving in with my Horse Archers, killing some more of these Thurio Spears, and when his Peltasts move up I'm pulling my Slingers back. And this is how it's going to go for a while. Just extended skirmishing, trying to kill as many guys as possible. Because he has the infantry advantage, I have to kill a lot of guys with my skirmishers before the main engagement happens. And I don't really know why my opponent just doesn't rush me here, because he's more than capable of defeating this line of infantry. So what he's doing now, just allowing me to shoot at his guys, is actually working in my favor. When you have the skirmishing advantage, most of the time you want to extend the skirmishing for as long as possible. Ideally use up all the ammunition before the melee engagement starts happening, especially if you have cavalry. So these Illyrian Thurio Spears are dead, these Illyrian Thurio Spears are getting severely depleted, and one of the important things about killing off units like Illyrian Thurio Spears are that killing a guy is also going to reduce the output of missiles on that unit by 5. So some dead guys here lying in the smoke. So because each guy has 5 ammunition, the unit doesn't have a pool of ammunition in and of itself. So if you kill a guy, that means that there's 5 less missiles to deal with. So into the mercenary Peltasts again with my Baktria Noble Horse, getting some nice Peltast kills. It's not the best engagement for these Baktria Noble Horse, because they are going to take some damage while they are pulling out, but it's also going to pull in these units. That's going to enable me to further damage his Noble Hoplites. Now at this point I have 2 options. I can either withdraw my guys up the hill, which probably would have been the better option, to be completely honest, but I'm going to charge here into his Peltasts. Just to remove that unit, I'm going to charge these Illyrian Noble Hoplites with 2 of these guys, hoping to break them with superior numbers. I'm not sure if it's going to work. And this is going to enable my Slingers to continue to fire on his Illyrian Noble Hoplite general, and they're also going to take casualties on the charge here because they are depleted from before. So, trying to kill his general. Looking at his units, you can see that his Illyrian Noble Hoplites aren't actually disciplined, and the Thurio Spears aren't disciplined, so that's kind of one of the drawbacks of the Ardiaei. They don't have a lot of disciplined units. So the Illyrian Hoplites aren't disciplined either. What that means is that they are going to care about the death of their general. Putting my Horse Archers up there, they have some nice kills already, but mostly on cheap units. And I kind of messed up here because I didn't manage to charge in with my Scale Thorax Hoplites. And now my opponent is pushing with his infantry, and now you can see just how this is one of the reasons why I wanted to showcase this battle, because you can see my own very meager line of infantry is able to hold off a few units, but I have nothing to really stop all of these other units from moving in and pushing back my skirmishers and my cavalry. So I actually have to withdraw all of my skirmishers and my cavalry, because since my opponent has such a decisive infantry advantage, me going for rail charges here is going to be impossible. It's going to kill off all of my cavalry. So I was able to kill his general, which is nice. Some Thurios fire coming in. They're going to damage my Scale Thorax Hoplites fairly effectively. Here they're going to probably do some friendly fire as well, and I'm in the woods, so I'm not too worried about that. Just going to try to use as much of the shots on my horse as possible. Here I'm using heavy shot, I believe, to take care of these Illyrian Hoplites. And heavy shot from an elevated position is going to do a lot of damage. They were attacked in the rear here, and they're losing decisively and being shot at by missiles, so these guys are actually going to start wavering, although they have a lot of men left. They stabilized, but I was able to take a lot of them down. Now my Scale Thorax Hoplites aren't really holding off very effectively here. I forgot to put some of the guys in Hoplite phalanx, but even if I had put them in phalanx, they probably would have died fairly quickly anyway. So pushing through here with more of his infantry. His pelters are dead, but he still has a lot of infantry left. You can see the balance of power is slightly in my opponent's favor, but it's not really representative of the true capabilities of the forces on the battlefield, because now I have lost all of my infantry, practically. Scalator Exoplates doing fairly well here, getting some nice kills here as well. They are decent units. These guys, they didn't manage to get a charge and they were attacked, so these guys aren't going to do well at all. So now I have to move my guys into a better position. Now, I am fairly confident that I can still win this actually, because I have a lot of ammunition left on my slingers. They haven't done much yet. I have some ammunition left on my mercenary Scythian horse, and I have most of my cavalry intact. So that's going to enable me to cycle charge a lot against these depleted units. Now here, because of this ridge, I'm not going to be able to shoot at his Illyrian Tyrio spears effectively. I noticed that when I shot against them, the units were firing, but most of the shots were hitting this hill, so I stopped firing at them. And I'm looking for a better angle. They are also in a hill. Taking some casualties here from the javelins, but not really a whole lot. I think I only lost 4 guys from those volleys, so nothing major. But I'm going to continue to move around here because I want to draw my opponent into the open. I don't want to be charging in here. But as you can see, the time is running out, and with the 20-minute time limit, if you have extended skirmishing, it's going to be difficult to make it work in quick battles. It can be difficult to make it work in quick battles, at least. Firing at these Illyrian Hoplites, they are in the woods. The general is dead, so they're getting a morale penalty from that. Scalator Hoplites are routing. And I'm going to stop firing at these guys, because firing at Hoplites in the woods is a great way to use missiles and not get a whole lot back for it. So I'm going to shift fire onto his Illyrian Tyrio spears. They have worse shields, and although they aren't really going to take a lot of damage when they are in the woods, and again, because of this ridge, a lot of the shots are going to hit the ridge as well. So now I need to create some distance between me and my opponent. Time is running out, and he's just using all of this infantry to push me back. I can't engage him head on with my cavalry. I have to get shots off. I'm able to do some damage as the guys are moving in here, and hopefully I'll be able to cycle charge against these thin lines of infantry, like here. These Illyrian Tyrios are getting smashed by my cavalry over here as well. Didn't get into phalanx in time, and that's going to cause a lot of casualties on the charge, even against a Hoplite unit, or not really a lot, but it's going to do some damage at least. So this is going to be what I have to do, charge as he's moving forward. Illyrian Tyrio spears, as you can see, this is really weird, really weird. Or actually it wasn't as weird as I thought, because he activated cavalry counter tactics, and I thought it was a running square, but it's not. But here, I'm charging in, but I'm getting stopped by my own units. I'm not getting the best charge here, and although these guys aren't really braced, they are going to hold fairly well against this cavalry. So I have to move out from that engagement, keep moving my lines away so I'm not getting trapped. I want to move towards the flanks, and I want to be able to get charges like these off straight into his guys, do a lot of damage, and then pull out again. So these Illyrian Tyrio spears are being shot to death, and they're also being charged, so able to move a unit of Hoplites, charging into the Hoplites again, pulling out, trying to use my skirmishers without them getting caught. And you can see my opponent has a lot of infantry left on the field, but I have a lot of ammunition. I have my horses, and I'm going to be able to do a lot of casualties to his units while they are moving. So these Tyrio spears are going to start dropping, these Hoplites are going to start dropping, and Illyrian Hoplites over here as well. They don't much like being attacked in the rear, so I'm going to pull out again and just continue to cycle charge, fire, cycle charge, fire. But it doesn't look like I have enough time. These horse archers are out of ammunition, so I'm just going to charge in, hopefully, and they're actually going to do some damage to these Tyrio spears on the charge. So the Tyrio spears are very weak in melee, being destroyed by horse archers here. And cycle charging against the Illyrian Hoplites, moving skirmishers away, trying to get shots in at important units like these noble Hoplites, shooting at these units because they are a bit closer, doing some damage, while my horse archers are holding off here. And the Illyrian Hoplites are dropping fairly quickly, so if I had more time here, I probably would have been able to skirmish and cycle charge my opponent to death. But as you can see, he had Illyrian Hoplites, he had 5 of those, and then he had 5 Illyrian Noble Hoplites and 5 Thuria Spears with 3 Peltasts. It's going to be very difficult to take this on with a balanced army, especially since I have put a lot of Denari into my horse. But as you can see, I wasn't really able to cycle charge for long enough to be able to take care of all of these Hoplites. At the end of the battle, he had an Illyrian Hoplite that was barely damaged. He had a unit of Illyrian Noble Hoplites that was barely damaged, another unit of Illyrian Hoplites, a unit of Thuria Spears, and these Illyrian Hoplites that didn't take much damage. But judging by the kills of my skirmishers, I believe, and looking at their ammo count, I believe I had something like 8 shots left on them. So I should have been able to make my opponent stop for a bit by cycle charging and shoot at his guys. Got a fair amount of kills here. We both killed about half our opponent's armies, so it was in 20 minutes this was a dead draw, and it kind of shows how the all infantry army of my opponent had problems catching my skirmishers, had problems dealing with my horse, but was able to deal with my infantry fairly easily. And the thing with balanced armies is that usually against a very one-dimensional army like the Ardiaei, they need time to work. There's no way I can just hold rear charge enough to kill off all of these infantry units. So I have to have time to make it work. I have to have time to have my skirmishers fire. I have to have time to do the cycle charging. And that's going to be fairly difficult to do sometimes in only 20 minutes, especially against units that are very resilient to missile fire and where horses need to be used very carefully to not get bogged down and killed by spears. So this kind of also showcases why I like balanced armies better than one-dimensional armies, because the balanced armies are more fun to play with. Lots more things to do with the skirmishing, with the horse skirmishing, and with the cycle charging cavalry, while these armies, these infantry armies, are mostly about either holding up somewhere, or if you have to attack, then just pushing forward, continuing to push forward, and not really having a lot of options to deal with your enemy other than clicking attack orders on them, which I find quite boring. But hopefully this was interesting to watch, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.